Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Unfiltered HR. I'm Emily as usual. This is my guest today, Jean Gunner. We'll give her more of a proper introduction in a second, but just want to mention we're in a new studio. We have these fancy schmancy mics. And kicking off kind of a special mini-series inside of Unfiltered HR today, a small business employer spotlight series, and that's why Jean is here. So if you guys work with me, if you follow any of my other content online, if you read my LinkedIn posts or anything like that, or if you watch any other episodes of Unfiltered HR, you know I'm a big advocate of small businesses and small business employers. It's who I work with. It's who my clients are. It's why I guess get out of bed every day. And I'm a true believer that small business employers are really the true heroes in our communities. I believe that they're superheroes and just what they do for the community and the actual service or product that the business provides, but also as employers and providers of livelihood and purpose every day for people in their lives. So the next multiple episodes, I'll be interviewing and talking to small business employers of different shapes and sizes to give them a spotlight and a shout out for the awesome people that I think they are. And that's who Jean is today. And so Jean, you and I have known each other for about 6 years, originally as you were a client of mine, not actually in the Ally HR Partners business, but a previous life as a HR consultant. And we, of course, have become friends through working together because, as any small business knows, eventually business and personal somehow ultimately collide. So that's why you're here today. So please introduce yourself and tell us about yourself as a employer, what you do in your business, what your business is, and then we can go from there.
Well, thank you, Emily, for the opportunity to do this. I'm Jean Gunner. I am from Buffalo, New York, and the area, and I have had the great privilege of working in operations and finance and strategic development as the director for Buffalo Pediatric Associates for 30 years. Actually, I'm in my 31st year. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I just want to also acknowledge this is so great, this relationship and the mention about small businesses. We employ 46, I think the number from the Census Bureau is about 46% of the workforce in the United States is small business employees. So the work as a small business employer is very, very important and significant.
Yeah, and they often are much better, more fulfilling jobs and employment experiences than the big corporate employers, right? And another reason to kind of make sure that they're represented in the really way that they should be and differentiated from those types of employers because it is a different experience. There is different opportunities as a result of that. And it's just more of a authentic, I would say, like holistic experience for the community too. Yeah. So how many employees does Buffalo Pediatrics employ again?
At this point, we have 26 employees and including myself, because I am I represent the employer for sure, having run the company for all these years. And we have two owner physician partner pediatricians.
Okay, so it's yourself as the director, but you're really running the show, hiring, firing, dealing with anything and everything that comes up, just like an owner would.
Yes.
And then you support the doctors who are really the owners, but they're there to doctor and be doctors and don't necessarily have time to be doing all this other stuff, right? Sound familiar, small business owners? Great. And you've been in a people leadership role for most of the time that you've been at Buffalo Pediatrics, right, in this role?
All of it except for the first 6 months when I was there. And then they discovered I had a couple degrees and they said, I think we want you to help run things. So that was back many years ago.
With no prior experience or qualifications, you were just thrown into the fire.
Well, I mean, I had experience in another field, another industry, housing and banking. But yes, healthcare was, it's natural transition, home to health.
Yeah. Okay. So in that 30 years, what, if you had to sum up your experience in a people leadership role as kind of this top of the heap, like employer position in an organization, a small business organization in a community which it serves as a business, but also as an employer, what is the one word you would use to summarize that? If you could pick one word. If you're forced to pick one word.
Well, Emily, that's quite a ask, but I would say sitting here, balance. Balanced, or maybe the verb balancing. Yeah.
Okay. Say more.
Whoa.
As the kids say more.
Well, first of all, it's a small business. It's pediatric healthcare, so there's the need to balance the lack of proper resources and funding. You know, we get I'm sorry to bring it up, but this is a place to do it, like a nickel on the healthcare dollar nationally. So these are our children we're talking about, and that's how much is allocated in the federal budget. Also, the balance of people's lives, dealing with patients. You know, do I have to mention COVID? Do I have to mention other, really difficult flu seasons? Just dealing with payers and dealing with basically having to always justify our existence. And what we're doing is we are handling people's children, the most important element to parents and to caretakers are our children. We all start out as babies, right? Mm-hmm. So balancing the emotions and the needs of employees, balancing all the regulations and laws. You know, things have been changing like rapid fire. And so you have to deal with resources, you have to deal with people, you have to deal with outside contractors and partners. So it does require balance and balancing.
I love that, actually. The more I think about it, the more appropriate I think it is, because you're not just balancing individual needs and desires and feelings and emotions and all of that of the 30, employees that work for you. And sometimes those things are collaborative and work together. Sometimes they don't. But also, and this is something I see with clients all the time, is balancing the needs of the business with the needs and interests of the employees. Because certainly I would say, and I know any of the clients I work with, you have an interest in both of those needs and desires being met, but a lot of times it's not possible to do it perfectly in the eyes of both at the same time. Would you say that's it?
Yes. Yeah. Well, one of the physicians that was a longtime leader at the practice, who is now working part-time and has stepped out of partnership leadership, and he's a great person. We're very mission-driven, values-driven. We care deeply about society, our patients, some 40,000 patients, families we have impacted over the last 30 years. We did the calculation today. But this doctor is always one to remind our hearts can't be bigger than our wallets. We have to be practical. In order to keep the lights on, the doors open, and caring for people's children, we have to make sure we balance. And that's just the name of the game.
Yeah, no, and I love that too. That's a theme I see with all my clients as well. It's, a lot of times when employees are advocating for individual needs, whether it's in benefit contributions or pay, they're not always considering the fact the business does have a limit in terms of what it can afford and pay out from a total comp and labor budget standpoint for its staff. And certainly that cannot exceed the business's ability, because otherwise the business itself cannot exist to employ anyone, let alone serve the community and the mission and the vision that it exists for. So yes, you're not alone in experiencing that, but does not make it any easier. So I guess in the 30 years that you've been a people leader, maybe the time we've worked together, the time we haven't worked together, what is one of the most significant lessons you've learned as an employer? Or if not one, maybe just a couple bulletized items of things you've realized, things you've learned, things that you've implemented and changed as a result of difficult learning experiences, or maybe just experience?
Well, Emily knows I like to use this term, idiot compassion. And I happen to bring along our core values, and compassion as our number one value. We have 8 values. But it doesn't say idiot compassion. And what I mean by that, I did not coin that phrase. That is actually it's a Tibetan meditation master coined that phrase. And that's another story, which we don't have time to get into.
That's a different podcast.
That's meditation. So simply put, idiot compassion, it's sort of what Dr. Kaplan was saying, the heart can't be bigger than the wallet. Essentially, we have to operate from a place that combines caring, and also the analytics of the situation, not being driven by our emotions, not having knee-jerk reactions. And so you asked about my personal accomplishments or also my struggles. I'd say one of my biggest struggles is I practiced probably too much of that for a long time. And I also had a tendency to react versus responding. And that was because I'm a people pleaser. I also care deeply for the business. I see that happy employees make a happy workplace, and I really believe we achieve that on a daily, weekly, yearly. It's not perfect. We certainly have struggles in that vein. However, I would think for me and for the company and representing the company, we all have such good hearts. We know why we're in this business, to serve society, community, people's children's medical needs. However, we need to have some balance to that. And that means we need to put guardrails and some understanding around what it means to be compassionate, and also and to be maybe less of a macro manager. I had a tendency to just think everybody was going to have the same work ethic as me. And it doesn't mean people don't have the same care. They may just do it differently. And I needed to put more you have helped with this, that we need more identified, job descriptions or performance reviews or handbook, being really clear about what our policies are and what our accountability is. Yeah. Because how can we be a caring, compassionate workplace if we don't have accountability, even for ourselves? So those are the things I've struggled with, but also I think our company has really set a trend to make a big difference in.
Yeah, I'd say when working with you guys for 6 years now, that's probably, if I had to encapsulate or, define the biggest shift or the biggest, the thing we've done that's made the biggest impact in your experience as a business and being an employer, but also for your employees, is that shift from, maybe the idiot compassion, or I always like to think of clients often being on this scale of, kind of extreme or toxic empathy or idiot compassion to being tyrants. And usually every business as an employer is somewhere on that scale. And depending where you start is where we usually try to bring you back more to a center or a balanced place. Your word balance is just continuing to be better and better. Yeah. And certainly with you guys, it makes sense, right? Because your existence as a business is, and your mission and vision are one based very much in compassion and empathy. And so a lot of times that can lead into your identity as an employer, which is not bad, but can be maybe a little bit taken advantage of or exploited, even if unintentionally. And I think we found that there was some of that. So we did a lot of work implementing more practices and more accountability into the practice, not just for individual employees, but for you as a leader and other leaders there too, in making sure that decisions and actions are being done daily that helped the business, right? If you have to make a difficult conversation to give someone a warning or have a difficult conversation with someone, those things need to get done as leaders too, and leaders need to be held accountable to do that, so that the dysfunction doesn't continue to then jeopardize the business mission and vision. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the point is doing them in real time, or not letting things get away from us, because you can really get out of balance. And that's been a huge, I think, accomplishment of ours as a company.
Yeah, and you guys have grown so much as an employer, and you as a leader too.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone there. Yeah, it's been very rewarding, and I feel very privileged to be a part of it. Yeah, as I do with all my clients. But so if you had to identify, and I know it's changed over time, but what is your biggest challenge now as an employer? And this is also maybe something that just those listening could empathize with and maybe be comforted by slightly. Mm-hmm. What's your biggest challenge now, and then how has that changed over time?
Well, I will tell you right now, one of our biggest challenges is finding skilled nursing staff. Yeah. And that is a feature of forces in the labor market that are beyond our control. And one of the reasons I say that, I feel like what we offer is such a really strong, it's a rewarding place to be. We really, when we say work-life balance, we actually mean it. and also, we offer a very fair package for what independent primary care pediatrics can offer. And I can understand people needing to take something for financial reasons. However, I don't think that what we're offering is in any way not in balance and competitive. But clearly you can go and find something if you're a travel nurse, or if you're working for a big payer, or you're working for, a hospital, for instance. So there's that, and that's real. And what that causes, Emily, and I know people can relate to this in other industries because, I have friends in other industries, is that then it puts a burden on the existing employees. And it's not like the existing employees, sure, raises are great, but really and important and necessary, and resources. But I think people really do understand the resource situation in pediatrics. It's in the news. People are aware of it. However, I think we offer something that is it's tangible, that you have an ability to have a more balanced life, and our benefits are good, but we still, the strain it puts on existing staff and leaders.
Yeah.
And doctors and the clinical leaders and the people that I work with directly to run and manage the company, it's real, and I know we're not alone.
Yeah. No, people resources are scarce. I mean, qualified, quality, not just, is someone skilled to do the job, but are they willing to do the job, and are they going to be reliable and show up every day? I mean, that talent seems difficult to find. And yeah, it is frustrating, and it's not just you. For all my clients, and I'm sure most businesses out there, when you feel like you're making the efforts to offer a strong compensation package, strong benefits, a good culture, right? A business that is mission and vision driven, so people actually can have purpose when they come to work every day and affect something, and not just be pushing a button and not understanding what that button's doing and just asking them to still do that. And so when you have this strong offering and have invested time, energy, and resources into being a great employer, and still, it's difficult to find good people. And yeah, it does definitely take a toll on the other people that are there.
I think it's hard to sell an intangible, which is the connection that we feel in our workplace. And connection, we really, communication and connection. I have learned that if you put the relationship first and people first, everything else really does follow. Because sure, people leave toxic workplaces. They'd rather be in a place where they feel heard, seen, and cared about and appreciated. And that doesn't mean you have to be taken advantage of as an employer. You don't. You can have all those things. We call it the wisdom approach. I guess another word I would use is wisdom. However, I like balance a lot today, so let's go with balance.
Well, if you're wise, you're probably balanced.
Or striving for some equanimity or balance.
Yeah, equanimity. That's one of my favorite words. Is if you know me at all and you're listening, you know that. But yeah, I think all that is very true, and I do believe, yes, if you put people first, even if you want to look at it from a transactional business standpoint, you put people first, there's going to be an ROI to that, and it's going to benefit the business. But there is a balance to doing it, right? You cannot put the business first at the expense of the people, and you cannot put the people first at the expense of the business, because neither of those things is balanced, right? Yeah, that's great. And that is definitely, I think, a lesson we've learned together at Buffalo Pediatrics, and I see the same exact trend with clients.
May I say a word about the work we did with putting people in their seats? And one of the projects we worked on, and I found this so important, and so did as the leader, one of the leaders of the practice and the company, was really identifying if people are in the right seats. And once you, there's knowledge, skills, attitudes, and virtues. But if someone's in the wrong seat, the balance can be thrown off. So really understanding where everyone sits and looking at that chart and being able to see it visually, and then talking about it as a leadership group. And we really got to the point where we're like, this is working. There was some magic to this. And I at first resisted a little bit some of the things Emily was encouraging. I wouldn't say pushing. You're very gentle, nudging. She gently nudges. And when we started doing the work, I got pretty excited about it as the director of the practice. Yeah. So that work is very meaningful. And handbooks. are not a one-shot deal. They are a living document that you have to make sure they're up to date, because they give us the teeth, the guardrails. So when you have to do accountability work, which is hard work, you have to have conversations that are hard, and sometimes you have to terminate relationships. However, I think in all the years I've been there, honestly, I don't feel like we've ever terminated anyone. I always feel like people made their choices and then had to be terminated. We tend to give people a lot of chances. And Emily has helped us understand we need to pull that back a little to have a little more balance in our lives, because it was really, it was taxing the resources that myself and the other leaders and the partners of the practice, we were getting taxed, and therefore the mission was getting muddied or drained.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes back to that word balance, because, and I guess similar to that word is the word alignment, which I think a lot of the work we did was taking the aspects of your HR infrastructure, your policies in your handbook, which kind of govern behavior, or your job descriptions and what people's roles are, and defining those, and what is your seat and what are you responsible for in your seat, aligning all of those things with the mission and the vision. So, making sure that at the end of the day, people were doing what they needed to do for the mission and the vision to get done, from a job task standpoint and to a certain standard, in those job tasks, but then also behaving in a way that needed to be done to align with that mission and vision as well. So, how we treat each other every day, how we talk to patients. So really it's all about aligning all of those things and with your mission and vision, setting those expectations from a behavior and job standpoint, and then holding people to them, and then holding yourself accountable too as a leader to making sure that work gets done. Yeah.
And we're not perfect. I have some areas to improve on and work on.
Well, the thing I always say about leadership and management, especially of people, it's a relentless. It's not my original thought, but it's true that it's a relentless, never-ending job, because one of the things you said before reminded me of this. I have many clients or people leaders who say, or employers who say, I just want to hire people for a job, and can't they just do it? Expect them to do it, right? Just do what I hired you for. If you think that being an employer is like that at all, you will find very quickly that you're gravely mistaken. People need constant nudging, realignment, reminders on expectation setting, coaching.
And boundaries.
Yeah.
But it's like being a parent.
Yes.
Can you imagine just having a child and say, go for it? There's this whole parenting that's all about giving space. I think giving space is really important with a sense of boundary.
Yeah. Yeah. Safety within that space. Yeah. All right, a couple more questions for you, Jean. And you're the guinea pig first guest on this, so others will receive these questions probably similarly. We'll see how they go. But if you could dispel a myth or share something that you think is misunderstood or more people should know about running a small business, being a small business employer, what do you think that would be?
I would say, as I said, relationships really are kind of they're foundational. And when I say that, I don't mean just with your employees, I mean with yourself too. Do some work on yourself so you make sure that you can relate to others, and do it in a way that is clear, in a way that has a sense of equanimity, a way that understands resources, a way that understands communication skills, emotions, and pause. Don't react. We have to respond, but responding is if you have to take a day to think about it or a few minutes, obviously if there's a critical emergent issue that needs attention, but don't do knee-jerk stuff. I think I think sometimes we think we pull away and give too much space, or we want to control. There is this sense, I'm sorry, but I just keep going back to balance.
Yeah, no, it's a great word.
I feel as if that's critical.
Yeah, okay. Well, that kind of answered my next question about the advice you would give, so that's good.
Oh, okay, so I gave advice. Great.
But I think the myth you maybe were dispelling, what I heard you say a lot there is you talk about having a relationship with yourself and working on yourself as a leader and an employer. Something I'm always saying too, small businesses, again, they are different than large corporations, which are entities in themselves. A small business is usually run by one or a couple people, and they are real people in your community, real people that are fallible, real people with their own problems in their life, their own stressors, their own financial difficulties, whatever it might be. And so I think, and hopefully through this Spotlight series, this happens too, but humanizing small business leaders and employers,
Yeah. And I do have one other myth to dispel.
Okay.
Don't try to do it all on your own. Delegation, putting together the best team, that I tried to do too much for 15 years, and I thought that was the expectation. Maybe part of it was I was a little bit more territorial. And well, we're all working with that, right? Or we're not. But really realizing that you can trust other people's ideas, and a real leader really does bring people up and really takes blame and gives credit and leads from behind. Like, all those things are true. But not false humility. Like, it's okay to be appreciated as a leader. That's genuine when people acknowledge you. So I also, being able to say, well, thank you. And acknowledge yourself.
Yeah, and what you're good at and what you're not good at, and how perhaps you could hire someone else who would be better. Even if maybe you're a small business owner and employer and you are not good at the people leader and management stuff, please hire someone.
I can attest to that because I have an assistant director now, and she's really good at performance reviews, and I am not.
Yes. And maybe you're just good at being a doctor or whatever
finance,
it is that you do.
Or,
right?
Other strategic leadership.
Yeah. We're covering it all.
Yeah. And one thing just related to that, and whatever you can, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like, I've always been a big fan of having the latest technology and researching the best ever since I got in the door in 1994. 6 months later, I was researching the best practice management system, and then looking for best partners, best ways to support your business through technology, because it really does matter. And local partners are great for that. And also looking for the best HR person.
I just do the best. I just do the best I can, yes. And I get lots of lessons and experience along the way from operators and owners like
and
you.
we don't have to agree on everything. We're, the best minds can go back and forth a little bit.
Yes, yes, we all learn from each other. All right, final question, fun question.
Boy.
So, since you are already a real-life superhero as a small business operator employer, if you could be a fake superhero, what would your superpower of choice be?
My superpower of choice, if I could be a real life, well, I guess I've always wanted to be invisible. But I think part of that is like just giving space to things and, invisibility a little bit. I think that'd be fun.
Okay. Yeah. What would you do with it?
I don't know.
Maybe you don't want to answer that on camera.
No. No, actually, part of it is just I've been doing a lot in my life, and I want to take more space to do some rest and just for me. And so I think part of it is like I just want some spaciousness. Okay. So, and I just do want to show you, I did bring my superhero sweatshirt that Emily gave me.
Yes, if you're a client of mine and you have not received one of these, you will be. Or if you want one and you're not a client, reach out and I'm happy to send you one. Yes. But the badge of honor as a small business employer, we have sweatshirts now.
I think of it as like the gem or the indestructible gem of being a small business.
Yeah, like the superhero or Superman logo.
Yeah.
Superwoman. Thank you for showing that. All right. Well, thank you very much, Jean. Thanks for being the first guest on the Spotlight series. I'm very honored to have you as the first guest, and it's been a pleasure working with you. And thank you for all that you do in your role and your job for the practice and how it serves the community just in its actual mission of providing pediatric care, but also, being an employer and providing livelihood and a great place for people to go to work every day for 30 people in our community. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. It was a pleasure. We'll see all you guys next time. If you have ideas or questions, please reach out. Ciao.